Hi all, Maurice Kogan again, back with question 16 of the 64 questions in my PDF document, Questions and Answers for Exporters and Export Counselors. In this video, I'll cover how trade statistics can tell if your product has export potential and which markets might be best to pursue. As the expression goes, follow the money. Trade stats tell you at a glance if U.S. products in your Schedule B or HS category are heavily or only marginally exported, and which countries are doing most of the buying. The best part is they're free and easily accessible online from official US and UN sources. First, let's see if your product has export potential. It does if the US export stats show that products like yours are already large and growing. If that's the case, and you're not exporting at all, or only occasionally, your US competitors are getting all the benefit and you're missing out. Second, how can trade stats point to the likely best markets for products like yours? Because they tell you which countries are buying such products, how much they're buying from year to year, and which competing countries they're also buying from. You can access official US export stats from Trade Data Web or USA Trade Online. Both work similarly and yield the same results. They allow searches for any exported product up to its 6-digit HS code or up to its 10-digit Schedule B code. For foreign trade stats, the United Nations is the authoritative source. The UN collects export and import stats from every country and aggregates them in its Comtrade system. You can access the same data in an easier-to-use subset of Comtrade, the UN International Trade Center Foreign Trade Statistics. Either UN system allows you to pull up total world imports, total world exports, and each country's exports and imports of any product by its HS code. Since the US and UN systems both allow product searches by the same HS codes, you can directly compare the search results from each. For our purposes here, we'll look at how the two US and UN data sets can be used in combination to identify top export markets for your product. Now, can trade stats alone find your best markets? Some argue no, that more variables must be factored in, such as GDP, user population, physical climate, competitors, culture, and regulations, among others. In my opinion, trade stats alone will come up with the same best markets as a more complex multivariate model. Here's how and why. By easily downloading just 3 tables to Excel. Table 1. From Trade Data Web or USA Trade Online, pull up total US exports of your product by its 6 to 10-digit Schedule B code. This table will list export values to all destination countries in rank order over the past 4 years. Download the table to Excel. Table 2. From the UN ITC subset of Comtrade, pull up total world imports of your product using the same 6-digit HS code. This table will list import values from all supplier countries in rank order over the past 4 years. Download this table to Excel as well. Table 3. Again, from UN ITC, pull up total world exports of your product using the same 6-digit code. This table will list export values from all supplier countries in rank order over the past 4 years. Look for the US in this list to see its share of total world exports, reflecting its relative strength among competitor countries. Download this table to Excel as well. With the Excel version of each table, you can add columns to show the percent growth and share of the world total for each exporting country. From these three data sets alone, you can apply a series of 7 and conditions to narrow the country list to just the top performing markets, as illustrated below. 1, these countries were the largest export markets for your product over the past 4 years. 2, and these countries were also the fastest growing export markets for your product over the past 4 years. 3, and exports of your product showed continued export growth to these countries in the latest year. Established so far on the supply side are the countries where products like yours showed large, rapid, and uninterrupted growth over the past 5 years. 4, and these countries were also the largest importers of your product over the past 4 years. 5, and these countries were also the fastest growing importers of your product over the past 4 years. 6, and these countries also showed continued import growth for your product in the latest year. 7, and in these countries, the U.S. had a market share of at least 10% for your product. Now, also established on the demand side is that these countries showed large, rapid, and uninterrupted import growth of products like yours over the past 5 years, and that the U.S. had a relatively high market share. Now, why would trade stats alone point to the same best markets as a multivariate model? Because again, follows the money. If any country meets all 7 conditions very well, it presumes there were no significant impediments to growth, such as those factors into the multivariate models. In other words, in the countries with highly favorable trade stats, personal incomes are implicitly adequate, users are abundant, competition is tolerable, the culture is receptive, and there are no prohibitive tariff or non-tariff trade barriers. Otherwise, a country would not have survived the 7 and conditions. Well, that's it for trade statistics. If the narration was hard to follow, check out the accompanying text. I also elaborate on this in my book and in my free Exporting Basics guide with illustrative tables and a best market matrix. In my next video, I'll shift gears from tools to identify best markets into strategies and plans to enter global markets. Until then, thanks for listening.